Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing a team that I had amazing results with in the Retro Cup, climbing from just under 3,100 ELO, back up over 3,300, and to the global leaderboards. Now, this is not a team of my own creation. This team was created by Callum on Toast, a fellow content creator. Make sure to drop him a subscription, and we'll have a link in the pinned comment down below. Now, this team is built around Dragon-tail Mew, which is a very innovative idea. There's nothing in the meta that resists Dragon, so Dragon-tail Mew offers a lot of neutral play. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and take a look at this powerful team in the Retro Cup. Hopping into the first match, leading Shadow Marowak versus Talonflame. This is a winning matchup for Marowak in the twos, but only if you successfully double bait with Bone Club. So I farm up, go for Bone Club number 1, and I'm able to grab a shield from the opponent. I'm definitely going to be shielding up the flies here. Opponent actually goes for a flame charge, so they are sacrificing pacing in exchange for some pretty serious ramping up of their fast move pressure. I'm going to bait again, grab the final shield, and make it to the rock slide. This is going to be good night to the Talonflame as I win switch and shield advantage. There's a Primeape in the back, and I'm so happy to have switch because now I can send in the Dragon-tail Mew. These Dragon-tails will add up, and I can survive a Rage Fist. So Rage Fist is going to land. There's Rage Fist number 2, and I am going to be shielding and looking to farm up before I knock them out with a Wild Charge. Opponent is going to switch in the back. It's going to be Metacham, and they have Double Fighter. I have an Aurorus. It's game over. I wait the turn, get the catch onto the Aurorus of an Ice Punch. Maybe it's not game over. I refuse to give up here. I'm going to see what we can do in this matchup. I'm going to be firing off the Weather Ball. Weather Ball is going to do some pretty significant damage to the Metacham. Metacham barely able to hang on, and Dynamic Punch will KO. I'm going to get to bring back in the Mew. They switch into Primeape. Primeape gets outpaced. They're going to get knocked out by a Surf. So down goes the Primeape. In comes the Metacham. That gets farmed down as well. And a team with a backline Aurorus was just able to beat Double Fighter. Bad lead in the next match, Marowak into Jumpluff, and I'm going to save switch into Mew. Now, Mew is running the preferred fast move, but if I had more charge TMs, I would be running different charge moves. I would either run Dragon Claw and Wild Charge, or I would also potentially consider Dragon Claw and Ice Beam. There's a lot of Jumpluff in this meta, so having a move that can hit for double super effective would be very nice. Currently, I'm on Surf and Wild Charge just because that's the moves that I had the last time that I used Mew, and with a very small number of charge TMs, I am not going to be using any on the Mew. So my opponent is now going to get fully farmed down by the Marowak. I exit with a ton of energy. I know the timers are going to be misaligned, so I bring in Aurorus. In the back is going to be a Quagsire, and this is going to be a bit of a difficult fight. My opponent technically does have me countered in the back. Quagsire, of course, able to hit for super effective damage, but I have an energy advantage, and Aurorus is consistently able to hit for neutral damage. I'm going to farm up and fire off this Weather Ball on the CMP tie. Quagsire does have the alternating 5-4 pacing with Aqua Tail. I think about it quite a bit, and I do elect to use the final shield. My goal here is to throw on 3 and then go for a combo play with a Bone Club to knock them out. So I'm going to do just that, switch in the Marowak, but they blind switch into the Jumpluff, predicting my snipe. The Bone Club is triple resisted, but I have so much energy from earlier. Rock Slide into the Jumpluff is going to secure the knockout. Back in comes the Quagsire. Quagsire throws 2 and the move. My second Mud Slap will not get to register. And now it's going to be a race. Aurorus versus the Quagsire. And Aurorus wins that charge attack priority tie, knocking out the Quagsire. And despite a terrible lead and terrible endgame, we're able to take the win. We move to the next match. Bit of a tricky lead. Shadow Marowak versus the Annihilate. Now at first, my Mud Slaps are doing more than their counters, but after a Rage Fist, that does change. So I'm going to shield the first, trying to protect some health, and then I can very safely one in the move and one in the move. I do wait a little bit to make sure that I see the second counter go through. On the second one, I don't wait, and it costs me. Opponent makes a nice switch out and a catch onto a Sucker Punch Trevenant. I'm now going to respond with Aurorus. Trevenant users in this meta are typically running Sucker Punch due to the fact that it can hit Oranguru for super effective damage. Here I am going to get a double up on Weather Balls, but I'm low enough that a Sucker Punch will KO. So the right play for my opponent is to shield and deny that energy. I'm going to bring in Marowak to make them waste their energy, and now it's all up to Mew to try and sweep in the endgame. In comes Mew. Mew is able to get a farm down. What do they have in the back? It's a Talonflame, and this game is a win as Mew gets to make it to the Wild Charge. Wild Charge one-shots the Talonflame. Back in comes the Annihilate. Annihilate is going to be firing off a Rage Fist. I'm going to commit the shield because I know they're still 4 away, which means I can fully farm down. We don't even need that Wild Charge. We can just Dragon Tail down and take the win. We got Spice from my opponent in the next match, leading the Shadow Marowak versus Credilli. I'm pretty confident that in the 2s, Marowak will actually win this. I will fire off the Bone Club. That's going to be no shielded, and I switch into the Mew as my opponent is going to fire off the Grass Knot. Grass Knot will do a solid amount of damage. They're going to stay in, go for another move, and I'm going to shield and look for a Dragon Tail down. This is going to force them out. They're going to have to switch. They're going to bring in a Frostlass, and Frostlass, I'm just going to go straight for the Wild Charge. Let's get some serious damage, or let's force a shield. I get a shield, and they throw instantly. Now, this is very important, because they are now 6 Powder Snows off their next move, which means as long as I'm within 3 Mud Slaps of a Rock Slide, and I am, I actually get to outpace and either force the final shield or just remove Frostlass from the battle. Frostlass is going to get KO'd. In the back is Talonflame, and now I just get to bring in Aurorus. Talonflame has farmed up to the Brave Bird. Brave Bird does a lot of resisted damage, so I will respect it with a shield. Now Talonflame, I mean, they're at -3 defense. They're just going to get KO'd by a Weather Ball. They're going to shield. They're staying in, but there's just no way to beat the Aurorus. Even if they switched, I could overfarm and KO the Credilli with a Weather Ball. They're going to bring in Credilli. I can just farm that down because I know they don't have any energy, and we're able to take the win. Moving to the next match, going up against a terrific battler, Ishikawa Boy. And this is a tough lead, leading Marowak into Dugong. I'm going to safe switch into the Dragon Tail Mew, and my opponent is choosing to stay in here and go for an Icy Wind. Icy Wind is, of course, going to reduce my damage output. I'm going to throw 3, wait the turn to make sure they don't get a catch, and look to connect with the Wild Charge. Wild Charge is super effective, but due to the debuff, they can survive, and this is where things get a little tricky. This is not a range where I can farm them down with Aurorus, but I think Aurorus energy can be the key to victory. So I'm going to bring in Aurorus, look to get a ton of energy, and try and catch a Drill Run on the Marowak. Opponent is able to save it on 1 HP, and in the back, they have Superior, and this is so bad. Oh my goodness. I am going to commit the shield as they go for the Frenzy Plant, and I'm farming up to the back-to-back Rock Slides. 1 Rock Slide will do nowhere near the amount of damage to KO, but I'm hoping that a second one can force a shield. They can survive this, but the question is how well do they know the matchup, and they know it perfectly. As you climb higher and higher in ELO, people just make fewer and fewer mistakes, and now I have to hope that Aurorus is going to be able to sweep in the endgame. They're going to bring in Dugong, and I'm going to call that they go for the Icy Wind to debuff me, but no, they go for the Drill Run. In the back is Talonflame. Wait, this is still winnable. With a double bait, I think that I can actually win this game. I'm very low on the Aurorus. If I survive this next Incinerate, I think I actually win. The Incinerate comes through and it KOs. And if I had a better Aurorus, I can survive that Meteor Beam and then farm down the Dugong to take the win. But unfortunately, my Aurorus is pretty bad, so I do end up losing the game as a result. We move to the next match. We've got a Marowak Mirror. I landed the Bone Club, and I'm going to safe switch into the Mew to absorb this energy. Bone Club not going to do a lot of damage from a non-Shadow Marowak. They're going to throw their energy, and that's very okay by me. Now they're going to bring in Jumpluff. Again, another situation where having something like Ice Beam would be very, very helpful. Of course, I am stuck with Surf and Wild Charge because I have very few charge gems. I was able to get some during the wild area, but Mew learns way too many charge attacks. There is no way that I'm going to use those TMs, probably getting the wrong moveset on Mew. They undercharge, so I aggressively switch. I shield the Energy Ball. This should set up a farm down for the Aurorus, but disaster strikes. They live on 1 HP. You've got to be kidding me. I'm forced to give up the final shield. In the back is Arctibax, and I'm going for the bait here. They have 2 shields. They call the bait. That is a savage read by my opponent. And now that they've no-shielded 1, I'm just going to keep spamming Weather Balls. they are not in a position to KO me with a Dragon Claw. They're gonna have to do a lot more Dragon Breath damage, so I can just keep spamming out these Weather Balls. I'm pretty close to a move on the Marowak, and here my opponent, I guess, predicted me to overfarm, but I just go straight for the move. I pick up the knockout, they bring back in the Marowak, and they will resign the match. Terrible lead in the next match, Marowak into Superior. And this is where having a charge attack that could actually hit for neutral against Superior on Mew would be very valuable. Either Dragon Claw or Ice Beam. But unfortunately, I have neither due to my lack of TMs. So I'm forced to just throw a resistant move at the Superior, and they're not going to fall for it. They are just going to fully farm me down. And this is quickly going from bad to worse. But they end up switching out into their Typhlosion, and I think this is going to be a double fire team. I'm going to bait with the Weather Ball, throw 2, switch into the Marowak, and hope against hope that I caught a Thunder Punch, but they knew better. They went for the Blast Burn, and that, I think, is going to remove any hope of winning this game. If I caught a Thunder Punch there, I was in a pretty decent spot, but my opponent makes the read that it's highly likely for me to try and catch, and that's the way that I get back in this game, so they're not going to let that happen. Instead, they are just going to be able to take the win. That's a game where, theoretically, if I play cleaner, I can sweep it with Aurorus, but unfortunately, I was not able to. We pick up a good lead in the next match. Opponent is going to save switch into Cresselia, so I'm more than happy to stay in with the Marowak, land a Bone Club, and now I can bring in Mew. These Dragon Tails will add up. Shadow Claw, of course, would hit for super effective damage in this matchup, but considering the amount of normal Psychics that are in this meta, realistically, Shadow Claw is more of a hindrance than a help. Here, I will throw the Wild Charge on alignment because if I did one more, I would get outpaced. As the Mew, I'm more than happy to shield once and farm down. My opponent is going to deny the farm. They bring in the Dunsparce, and Dunsparce will now be smacked with a Wild Charge. Wild Charge is going to be no shielded, clocks up, I can bring in the Marowak, and they are one off the back-to-back. And I'm one off my move. And Marowak very comfortably wins the CMP tie over Dunsparce. So I can fire off the Bone Club. This will deny their energy. And they still have that Cresselia, but the Cresselia has basically no HP remaining. In the back is Pidgeot, and this game is over. I should have thrown sooner here. That actually risked the new mechanic / damage registration error, but I do get the move. But regardless, it wasn't going to matter because they have no way to beat Aurorus. Pidgeot just, it's completely walled. There's nothing it can do. They go for a Feather Dance. That does absolutely nothing. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. We move to the next match, and it's a bad lead. Shadow Marowak into Wall Rain. The save switch in a Mew. Opponent responds with a Shadow Drifblim, and that is a Pokemon that this team is ABA weak to. Both the Mew and the Marowak lose to Drifblim. Drifblim here makes a pretty big mistake, uncharacteristic for this ELO range. They could have farmed down, but I guess unfamiliarity with Dragon Tail Mew forces them to actually throw their energy sooner when they could have just farmed all the way down. But if opponents make mistakes, I am definitely going to capitalize. So I'm able to now tank a move on the Marowak, pick up a knockout with a Rock Slide, and then it's going to be all up to Aurorus to try and sweep. In the back is Superior, and this is such a winnable game for Aurorus. Aurorus is going to go for the Weather Ball. That does quite a lot of damage. My lose con is if they have Leaf Tornado and get a debuff. I shield, they go for a Frenzy, so they definitely don't have Leaf Tornado. They're going to try for a catch onto the Wall Rain, and this is not enough for an Earthquake. They're going to try and go for the brute force damage method of just going straight Icicle Spear. I now fire off this Meteor Beam. Meteor Beam is going to be shielded up by my opponent. And the good news for me is I'm going to be very, very boosted with the Aurorus. But the bad news is I have to give up my final shield as they go for the Icicle Spear. I'm going to farm up with the Aurorus. This Meteor Beam will easily KO. Opponent still has that Superior. Can they make it to a move? They cannot. Superior with a boost farms them down and takes the win. Great lead in the next match. Shadow Marowak versus the Licky Licky. Licky Licky throws on 6. This cannot be a Solar Beam, so I'm not going to be shielding. It will be the Body Slam. That's very okay. I do have the back-to-back Bone Clubs ready to go. So Bone Club is going to connect. I get to fire off another Bone Club and just continually put pressure on the opponent. They are going to end up committing the shield. They're going to undertap here, and that's very okay. I'm more than fine tanking a move. They go for the body slam. We actually have a simultaneous switch out Mew into the Oranguru. Now this is a situation where not having Shadow Claw is a massive benefit. Not only is it way better against opposing dragon types, but against the Oranguru, you actually have fast move pressure. Here I get to land a wild charge that does very nice damage, and this is going to set up a sick farm for Aurorus. I'm very okay losing switch here in exchange for a bunch of farm on the Aurorus. We exit with a Weather Ball loaded, and I'll never know what they had in the back because they resigned the match. Hopping into the final match, we've got a mirror Shadow Marowak versus Shadow Marowak. I'm going to go for the Bone Club, and I do end up losing the CMP tie. I definitely do want to protect my Marowak. Marowak is just unbelievably good in this meta. I mean, it's good in Open Great League as well, so it stands to reason it'd be good here. We actually have a simultaneous switch out, the Dragon Tail Mew into the Arctobax. This is a winning matchup for the Mew, but I actually don't want to win it in this scenario, because if I win it, they're just going to get an energy lead on the Marowak. So instead, I'm going to undercharge a Surf to perfectly put them into one Mud Slap range, but they live the Mud Slap on 1 HP. I messed up the undercharge. Now I have to take extra damage on the Marowak, and things are suddenly tilting out of my control. In comes Licky Licky. Licky Licky will be hit with a Bone Club. Bone Club is going to do some pretty solid damage. I bring in the Aurorus. They're farming up so much energy with the Licky Licky. This is a tough call to make. I decide to shield. I'm so happy I did. It's a Solar Beam from the Licky Licky. Oh my goodness. I'm returning fire at the Marowak with a Weather Ball. The shield, but there's just so much energy on the Aurorus. Actually, full sending the Solar Beam was the lose con for the opponent. With the Aurorus, they're now going to make a move, but this is not enough for a Solar Beam. It's just going to be the Body Slam. I can switch into the Marowak, make the Bone Club, and we're going to be able to take the win, even though I did mess up in the mid game with that undercharge. All in all, this team was a ton of fun. Originally, I wasn't even planning on making a video on this team. I just saw the video and wanted to try it out because it looked like a very fun team. And then after my ELO started skyrocketing, I thought to myself, wait a minute. I should actually probably document this progress so that I did start recording after doing the first couple sets. But yeah, my goodness. Dragon Tail Mew is a very innovative answer to the meta. I don't think I saw basically anyone else even playing Mew. I did wish throughout the course of these battles that I did have Dragon Claw quite a few times. Dragon Claw definitely would have been handy in some matches, but overall, since the amount of charge TMs I have total is under 20, I just could not risk trying to TM Mew. So if you do try the team, I'd probably recommend Dragon Claw plus Wild Charge, or if you really want to go Jump Love hunting, you could also run the Dragon Claw plus Ice Beam moveset, as that is a very solid moveset as well. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. Your support of the channel is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.